welcome. Today I'm going to be reading some more Am I the Butthole? I am currently laying in my bed because it is freezing cold and I have the cats squished up against me. So if you can hear an awful lot of rustling throughout, apologies, it is them. I'm hoping my mic won't pick up on it. But yeah, if that's your kind of thing and you want to listen along, then stay tuned. Am I the butthole for not inviting all of my friend group to Friendsgiving this year? So I, 27F, am from a European country, but I've always loved the idea of Friendsgiving, and that's why I've been hosting one every year for the last Saturday of November for the last 5 years. I used to do it at my ex-boyfriend's house, let's call him Dave, because it's more spacious than my apartment. Beginning of last year, 2023, me and Dave broke up, and a couple months later he started dating another girl in our friend group, let's call her Sarah. That's kind of messy. Fast forward to October 24th, 2023, a day before I'm supposed to send my invites. For context, I always send invites digitally exactly a month in advance just to make sure everyone saves the date. We all receive a message for Friendsgiving dinner at Dave and Sarah's on the last Saturday of November. I called him to ask him if it was a joke, and he replied to me that he wanted to continue hosting Friendsgiving. Mind you, the idea was mine, and I was the one doing all the work every year, so it never occurred to me that he would want to make it. I asked him if he could do his dinner another weekend, since Friendsgiving was kind of my thing, not only that, but also on the specific date. He told me no, and tried to gaslight me into thinking that we always had to work on it 50-50, so it was much a thing of his as it was mine. I am reading this all ass backwards, but I do apologise. I spoke with my sister and decided to send my invites the next day and continue with everything as planned. This caused a bit of tension in my friend group. I never wanted to start any trouble, so I just commented my point of view on the matter with those who asked me. Some of my friends sided with me and ended up coming to my dinner, but others said that I was being childish about it and that I should let Dave and Sarah made that year's dinner. Because of that, some of my friends ended up dropping and invited some of my sister's friends that I've also known for a long time. And it turned out being the best Friendsgiving I ever hosted. I think Dave's being a bit of an asshole, to be honest. I think he's done that on purpose. Especially if you were the one doing all the work and then all of a sudden he's like, no, it was 50-50. It was my thing too. I think Dave and Sarah are being a bit petty. I think they need to wind their necks in just a little bit. Fast forward to the 28th of this year, Dave and Sarah have sent messages saying they are doing a Friendsgiving dinner at their house on, you guessed it, the last Saturday in November. They are absolutely doing it on purpose to be petty. They've got to be. I've replied saying I already made plans, and on the 29th I sent my invites. This time only to the people that came last year to my dinner. Fair. So this last couple of days I've been receiving messages from the rest of the friend group that I haven't invited asking why they haven't received one. I've explained to them that my apartment doesn't have space to host more people than the ones I did last year, which is true. Since they would prefer to go to Dave and Sarah's last year, I assumed they would do the same. Also, I would love to have only last year's people since one, they were the ones who show me that they are true friends of mine, which is kind of the point of Friendsgiving. Fair. 2, it was one of those rare occasions where you introduce 2 different groups of people and everyone clicks instantly. Oh, so fair, so fair. If the other guys didn't want to come last year, why would you assume they want to come this year? You wouldn't, would you? So, am I the asshole for not inviting everyone? P.S. Sorry if there are any grammatical or vocabulary mistakes. English is not my first language. I did wonder, because it was a little difficult to read, I'm not going to lie. Probably hear me a few times tripping over my own tongue there, and I do that anyway, to be quite honest with you. Edit. Me and Dave have very different styles when it comes to hosting. I like to be a bit over the top and have everything ready for when people arrive, whereas he is more of the type of person that will let us gather at his house, but everyone has to contribute and help. So I think last year's people were expecting everything to be set up like other years, and when they saw it was not the case, ended up disappointed. Yeah, I'm the same. If I ever have people over, which is rare because I don't really enjoy having a lot of people in my house, but say if I had like family over, I like to get everything done and prepared. I don't like people to be getting in the way and trying to help me either, because I know where everything is. I know how I do everything, so I like to do it all my way. So totally get that. And yeah, I think it's nicer for the guests as well. If you walk in, everything's set up, it feels really inviting. You feel like they've made such an effort for you, and it makes you feel kind of special, doesn't it, if someone's put that effort in. So if they went to Dave's last year and Dave did not put any effort in and he just kind of expected everyone to chip in and help, they clearly got a little bit butthurt, and then they thought, oh, well, we'll just go to hers next time. We will go to hers. And, you know, it doesn't work like that, does it? Because if you pick one side, this is the problem with dating in friendship groups. If you bring someone from the outside in, when you break up, they kind of go back to the outside. However, if you're all dating each other in one big friendship group, it gets messy, clearly. Dave really was a butthole for dating someone else in the friendship group in the first place. And the friend, also, huge butthole for dating your ex. Like, I don't know how close you and that Sarah were, but that's no-go territory as well. So no, not the butthole, and they can get stood on, and they cut their nose off to spite their face. So now they have to go to Dave's crappy party. Boo-hoo. You keep doing you, and it sounds like you've got a good new friend group anyway, so I'd stick with those. So next one, am I the butthole for not helping my co-worker outside of work? So here's what's going on. I, 28F, work as a teacher, and a few weeks ago, a co-worker started asking me for favours outside of work hours. It started off innocently enough. She needed a ride home one day since her car was in the shop. I agreed because it wasn't far out my way, and I figured it was just a one-time thing. But since then, the requests have kept coming. Now, it's not just that she keeps asking for rides, she asked me to watch her pet for the weekend and even wanted me to pick up some stuff that she left at work when she couldn't make it in. As a teacher, my schedule is pretty full even outside of the classroom, and I need that time to unwind and prep for the next day. Yesterday, I finally told her I couldn't keep helping out with these extra things. I tried to be polite and explain that my own schedule's pretty packed, but she seemed really put off. She even muttered that she thought we were friends, which made me feel guilty. But at the same time, I feel it's important to have boundaries outside of work, especially when my job itself demands so much of my time and energy. So, am I the butthole for saying no to helping her with personal errands? I get that maybe she doesn't have a lot of support around, but I also feel like it's unfair to expect this kind of help just because we work together. No, I don't think you are the butthole. I think it's absolutely fine to say, look, I cannot be filling your cup and deserting my own. I need to have time to myself. I also have a lot of stuff to do after work. It's fair enough. No, and you don't owe your co-workers anything outside of work anyway. It's fine to be friends, but also, even with friends, you shouldn't just keep taking from your friends. It's supposed to be give and take if you are actual close friends outside of work. So no, definitely not. Good on you for putting in some boundaries. My neighbour is currently in the room that is adjacent to mine, obviously, but in her house. And these walls are about as useful as a chocolate fire guard for keeping noise out. So I really hope she can't hear me just like whittering onto myself. She's going to think I've gone insane. Now my social anxiety is playing up, and I'm just like, oh, it's going to be hard to record myself now. If I didn't read badly enough before. Anyway, big girl pants on. So am I the butthole for reporting the mail carrier? For making a report on the mail carrier? Wait. Add a little just to make it make sense for myself. Am I the butthole for reporting the mail carrier? I'm assuming. I think that's just a typo. There is a mail carrier in our area that tried to ask me out. I declined, but was polite about it. Ever since then, he has been rude, slamming the mailbox, slamming the gate. When I do cross paths with him, his attitude is vile, so I try my best to just ignore him. I let it all slide until he took back a package that did not even require my signature. I rescheduled the delivery and filed a complaint, including all of his microaggressions. That only added fuel to his anger as he returned more hostile than before. Plus, I noticed him leaning into my window 2 days after I reported him. Report him to the police, not the mail company. Jesus. Since then, some of the other carriers, he only shows up some days now, have been doing similar things, such as slamming the gate, slamming the mailbox, and one carrier kicked my Uber Eats order. Also, a letter for my new CC was partially open, and I also noticed 3 checks for my light bills that were sent out never arrived. Of course, I will give the benefit of the doubt, but I have a feeling that he badmouthed me to his postal office. Am I the butthole for reporting the guy? I honestly think he feels rejected, and there must be something else going on in his life, and he's seeking an easy target to bother. Did I do something wrong here or handle this incorrectly? I'm stuck on what to do now because it feels like I'm being bullied by my local post office, and it kind of seems like you are. Now, obviously, I would say, like, slamming gates, slamming the thingy, some people are just really heavy-handed, but full on kicking your Uber Eats, like, that's insane. No, I wouldn't just report him to the mail office or post office, whatever you would call it. I would report him to the police, because leaning into your window is scary. Kicking your food and tampering with your food is concerning, and then making other people do it as well. God knows what he's told them. But no, I would report it, just straight report it to the police, because that is worrying and very concerning. Definitely not the butthole for making a report. Make more reports, because I would just keep reporting every time there's an incident. They're going to get so fed up that they will start cracking down on them. I guarantee you that. And yeah, report the original one to the police, because that is absolutely crackers. Am I the butthole for not paying my fiance or her parents' rent? My fiance, 26F, invited me, 23M, to live with her last March. At the time, I was working as a live-in nurse, and I was reluctant to leave my position, in part because of the free board and room. However, my fiance continued asking me to move in and made it clear that she was offering for me to live with her at her place rent-free. She herself does not pay any rent or utilities at her apartment, since it's owned by her parents. The place has a market value of around €1,000 monthly, and utilities Wi-Fi come to around €100 monthly. Eventually, I agreed, and we decided that I would pay for all of our groceries around €400 monthly, since after all, I wasn't paying any rent. That seems very fair. If your fiance's not paying any rent, then, you know, why would you pay rent? You'd just pay the bills. Over the past 6 months, we've also used a car owned by her parents about 6 times for various errands, weekend trips. On all trips, we split the costs of gas. The car sits in a garage that's worth about €300 monthly, which again, neither of us pay for. A bit more info: I'm an expat working as a nursing assistant, where I make €1,200 monthly. My fiance is an unemployed writer who has zero income, but also spends next to nothing on living expenses. For the first few months, this arrangement worked for us, but after a while, my fiance started to make more comments about how it's her place and I live here rent-free. Now, after 6 months, she is insisting that I pay rent to her parents or put money into a fund that can be used for her to rent in the future. What? She continues to live in the apartment without paying any rent to her parents, and her parents have expressed no concerns about me living there. Oh, she wants to make money off you, I see. My fiance asserts that she wouldn't be living in the apartment if not for me. She would rather be homeless, which she has done before, or she would find the cheapest apartment possible. It's only because I'm in her life that she continues to live in this apartment, which she feels damages both her pride and her standing with her family. Go and get a job then, dear. I'm hurt by her insistence, and it seems like she wants me to provide for her financially, and it feels unfair that she would want me to pay rent on a place where she is living for free. I've suggested that we find a different apartment in a cheaper area and split the rent, but she can't afford to move anywhere else. What do you think, Reddit? Am I the butthole for not wanting to pay her rent? There we go. That was difficult. No, absolutely not. She just basically wants you to fund her lifestyle, and I find it worrying that she says she would put it in a money pot for her to rent in the future. So what, is she planning on binning you off in the future and then using your money to pay her way? If her parents, who own the place, are not concerned about you paying rent, you don't need to pay rent. If they don't mind, it's their place. It's their place to say whether you need to pay rent. If they don't mind, no, doesn't matter. You're not the butthole for not paying rent. She, however, seems like a leech. She needs to go and get a job. I understand that she says she's a writer, but if you're not making an income from it, then unfortunately you need to find a job to subsidize your expenses until you start making money off it. Like, that's how a lot of writers do it. They work full-time jobs and then write in their spare time, and then when, you know, their books become successful, then they can take that and work less and then eventually make writing their full-time job. But until you can do that, she needs to get a job. She basically wants to live off you, and it's gross. Oh, also, just adding in, if it were me, she'd be going in the bin, because she sounds like a right knobhead, to be quite fair. Am I the asshole for not referring to my mother as mum in my thesis dedication? My mother's name is Monica. Everyone knows her as Mon, and that's what my dad always calls her. I guess that because Mon and Mum are so close, both my brother and I grew up calling her Mon around the house. I vaguely remember she trying to make us call her Mum when we were little, but we were so used to it that there was no point, and I assumed she eventually realised we mean it as a term of endearment, even though once in a while she still reprimanded us for introducing her to a friend like this is Mon. Here's where we had an issue. I published my graduation thesis and finally got around to give my parents a copy. They're included in the dedication precisely as to Dad and Mon, plus some other acknowledgements. When she went over it, she was like, "Why did you call me Mon here? You called your dad Dad, and it makes it seem like you don't have a mother and you're talking about your father's wife." I was shocked by her reaction. Why does she care what others think? Since we both know I'm referring to her and I clearly wasn't trying to snub her in any way. She took the chance of venting about how she's the only mother who never gets to be called Mum, and that my brother and I never gave a damn about her feelings. I mean, honestly, she hadn't brought this up in the last 20 years. She had. Am I the butthole in this situation? Yeah, you are actually, because she has brought it up. You said so yourself. You've said, even though once in a while she still reprimanded us for introducing her to friends like this is Mon, and she tried to say to you quite a few times, "Call me Mum." And then I think that you are the butthole. Perhaps not knowingly, perhaps you genuinely thought that it was just jokey and she was okay with it. But some people, when they joke about, don't call me that, I'm Mum, like, they might say it in a jokey way, but it's because they probably feel uncomfortable about putting in boundaries. So if someone says, "Don't call me that, call me Mum, not Mon," then respect that. And yeah, it does sound a little bit like she's just your dad's wife in that dedication. So yeah, I think knowingly or unknowingly, you kind of are the butthole a little bit there, I'm afraid to say. Okay, last one then for today. Would I be the butthole if I told my friend I'm upset she bled on my bed and didn't tell me about it? Hi, I'm debating whether to say anything to my friend about this or not. Friend Jin flew in to visit her other friend and told me about it last minute. We're pretty good friends, but have been growing apart, so I offered to pick her up from the airport and hang out for a bit. I picked her up and we went back to my place when she asked if she could sleep over too. I wasn't expecting her to sleep over, but it's no problem because we have a guest room. The next morning I dropped her off to her other friend's place and said we should try to meet up before she left the next day. I never heard from her and I was changing the sheets in the guest bedroom and it seemed like she got her period. There was a lot of blood and went through to the mattress cover and stained the mattress. Okay. I'm really upset because she hasn't said anything about it, and if I knew earlier, I could have tried to clean it right away. We're going to have to buy a new mattress now because of this. Should I tell her about the situation? So when I first read the title, I was a bit like, well, yeah, you would be the butthole, because if it's a little bit of blood, it happens. She might not have even known. If you bring it up, she'll be embarrassed, and, just don't bother. You're going to embarrass her. However, if it was quite a lot, there's no way she wouldn't have known, and like you say, it's going to have seeped through to the mattress and possibly ruined it now. So she should have told you. To be honest, though, unless you're going to ask her to replace the mattress, I'm not sure what bringing it up would do. I think it's a tricky one. I think if you're going to ask her to pay to replace the mattress, not because she initially bled on it, because you can't help that. I would never ask someone to replace a mattress if they bled on it. They can't help it. It happens. Maybe, though, if they decided just to not tell me and it was a lot and clearly noticeable and they decided not to tell me and that meant that it was completely ruined and cleaning wasn't going to fix it. But tricky one. If you're going to ask her to replace it because you think she did it on purpose and decided not to tell you on purpose, although she may have been really embarrassed, maybe. Otherwise, considering you're clearly not that close of friends, because she's, like you said, you've been drifted apart, I would maybe just not say anything, personally. I don't know. Very tricky one. I would be interested to see what other people think on that one. Okay, so that's going to do it then for today. Thank you for listening along. If you've made it all the way to the end, then I very, very much appreciate that. Maybe you would even fancy giving a little like to help me out a little bit, or even subscribe to listen to me waffle on again in the future. Anyway, I hope you have a very good rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Goodbye!